Welcome to the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you.
Looky, Senator. Decent Jedi arriving.
Let's make this our best show ever!
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I am the Senate.
This is the way.
Hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome to the October 2022 episode of the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast. This episode was recorded on Sunday, the 16th of October 2022, using the powerful dyad of the Force, that is Microsoft and Skype. My name is Stephen, the Chancellor of the Senate, the obligatory Brit contingent of this otherwise American skeleton crew, as we all get together to talk positively about Star Wars for roughly the next 2 hours-ish. This episode is brought to you by Yaddle. Everyone's favourite female version of Yoda and Grogu is set to take us by storm again later in this month as she appears in Tales of the Jedi. And personally, I can't wait to see whatever we see. But we know we got her in lightsaber action, so I look forward to that. But as ever, sorry?
Did you hear what she sounded like?
No.
Like, hey, I'm Yaddle.
No, please, let's not go there again. My ribs will hurt. Okay, so before we get going proper into this podcast, as ever, it's time to hear a quick word from our sponsors.
517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control.
And that's very quick. So thank you for our sponsors. And as ever, we couldn't do this without you. So, whereas I'm in the United Kingdom, I'm as ever joined this month by my positive friends across the great pond of water in the United States of America. And as not differently this time, I'm actually on my phone on Skype instead of on my laptop, so I can't actually see who's here. So I'm just going to guess the order and say we've got Marie.
Hey, hello.
Hello. And we have Ricky.
Hello.
We've got Ryan.
I'm here.
Very good. And we have everyone's favourite Star Wars bargain hunter, Ron.
Greetings and salutations, fellow senators and chancellor.
Thank you very much. So we're here this month to primarily be discussing the episodes of Andor that we've seen since the last time we were on. But before we do that, we're going to go around the table and find out what people have been up to in Star Wars world the last, well, actually, I can't remember how long it's been, 3 or 4 weeks since we were last on. So we'll go back around in order, and this time we will start with Marie.
So I've actually had a bit of a busy Star Wars month. I mean, between Andor and a couple other things I've got going on, I am rereading the original novelizations, and I am not too deep into The Phantom Menace, but I'm really enjoying it. It's actually one of my favorite novelizations. And then, as we discussed prior to the show, I'm really intrigued with this Han Solo thing that I read about in the New York Times yesterday. It's a gigantic 6-foot life-size replica of Han Solo in carbonite, rendered in bread, and it's actually in a bakery not too far away from me, so I may be going to visit it.
Do it.
And that I'm really thinking about it.
I was going to say, do it. When we get to pun there. Never mind. Okay, go on. But yes, you definitely got to go and get a selfie with the bread.
Yes. And that's pretty much it from this corner.
Well, don't forget to put some butter or margarine on it. I don't know what you guys do over there in America. So
Definitely butter.
Margarine, slightly more popular over here, I think. I know it's separate. It sounds. Sorry, did they do it for charity?
What's that?
Did they bake this for charity?
No, they just decided to bake it. I don't know why. I think they did a Game of Thrones one earlier, and they just decided to challenge themselves with this one, I guess.
Okay.
And they ate half of the king's face.
Yeah. Yes, that was that's crossing franchises there. We don't have to go into that one. Okay, Ricky.
Hello.
yeah, I've just been watching Andor. I don't know if I talked about it last time. I did find some Kenobi figures again at Target, so I ended up getting Obi-Wan, who they gave him like a dad bod. He looks kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know. And then I also got the Grand Inquisitor, who looks like a baby because it's the retro collection. So I'm not really keen on the retro collection, but that's all I can find for some of the figures. So, but yeah, I've been seeing more and more figures in the stores, which I've been happy. That's been pretty good. Oh, I picked up. I was feeling a bit nostalgic, and I was just looking through video games on Xbox in their little marketplace store. And they had the episode 3 game for the original Xbox, and it was like super cheap, so I just ended up buying it. I've been playing that. That thing is so like I remember playing it back in like '05 when it came out, and that's the one where like you can change the ending of the movie, so you can have Anakin kill the Emperor at the end. So, but yeah, that's been pretty fun playing through. I mean, the graphics aren't too great for the cutscenes, but like when you're actually playing the game, it doesn't look too bad. So yeah, you get to play as Obi-Wan and Anakin. You can play 2 players and you can destroy the droids and stuff. For going through like episode 3 in the beginning when you're on Grievous's ship, but it's deleted scenes where they're like in the fuel lines fighting the droids. But that's where I'm at right now. I've been going through it slow, but yeah, so I've just been doing that. I did watch a little bit of Solo. Watched episode 3 again, and then watching Andor. I did pick up a couple of comics that I haven't read yet, though. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but probably think of it later.
And Steven's muted.
Oh, Steven's muted.
Okay, I pressed the ribbon button, and it kept muting me. Maybe it's got sticky finger. I am eating a rock bun at the same time here. That's too much information. No. Rock bun.
What is that?
It's
Geode, no.
Don't eat geode.
It's basically a small doughed bun with raisins and sultanas in it and fruit peel.
Ooh, that's the other thing I've been doing. I've been reading Path of Jedi, or not Path of Jedi. What is it? Path of
Deceit.
Deceit. I've been listening to an audiobook of that. I'm on like.
How did you get that from me talking about a rock bun?
Fun, right? I was just thinking that. I was like, raisins? What?
Something in there reminded you of a book.
Geode.
Okay. Very good.
Geode.
Like that.
There's no figure in the mind of Ricky.
I knew there was something I forgot.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Okay. Onwards to Ryan.
So I have also been reading Path of Deceit. I started a little late because I'm waiting for my library to get it. And luckily they did get the ebook. I'm only about 8 chapters in, and the note taking is so heavy on this. It's just crazy. Like the tie-ins to everything has just been super fun. I almost wish I would read it and then go back and read it again to take notes because it's taken longer than I'd like. And I just really want to finish it because High Republic is kicking into super high gear with everything coming up. So I've been reading Path of Deceit, and I decided I still needed an audiobook for my work drives or when I'm just like doing menial labor at work and I need something to listen to. So I've also downloaded Catalyst, the prequel to Rogue One, because that one was always great. So I decided to give that one another shot just to stay in that era of like Andor before New Hope. So I'm trying that on audio. It's still good. And I also bought another Star Wars game since I'm still massively into gaming. And it was Star Wars Miniatures X-Wing. And it's actually pretty neat. It's like an open table game with no board. You just need like a 2 foot by 2 foot open area. And you challenge each other by just like flipping, not really random, but you decide which way your ship goes, but you don't inform the other player. You both decide at the same time. And so it's almost like flying in open space, and maybe you'll get into range of the other ship, and then you roll dice to attack. So I'm a sucker for miniatures and dice rolling. It doesn't have cards, which is fine. So, but it's really fun. So I've been going through all sorts of third-party sellers to try to find additional game pieces because it has ships I've never even heard of. But I'm looking for.
You don't need a mat for that, or do they make?
No,
you
really
don't need one. He doesn't have a grid system for moving.
Nope, it just says sanction off a 2 foot by 2 foot. So whether it's a cutting board or just sitting on the carpet type of thing, and you just kind of put some edges around, so you know not to fly through.
I'm
But yeah,
sure
it's
they
just
do
a
make them though.
oh yeah, I'm sure there's one in space and like a neoprene mat or something. But I kind of like the idea of that you're both flying ships and you're trying to get in range of each other or performing maneuvers that may put you out of range. And then, like I said, rolling dice to try to attack based on ship and skill level. So that's pretty fun. So I bought that one. And I've been looking at the Millennium Falcon and the Fire Spray Slave One also, but those are getting hard to find. But what I didn't realize on the game, they really do. What I didn't realize on the game is that I bought version 1 and they discontinued it 4 years ago, and they're on to version 2. You probably see it in comic stores. It's got the black and red box. And those ships are like $20 a piece. It's like $15 for one Micro Machine X-Wing. And I was like, I am not getting into that one. So I'll stick with the old version where I can kind of get some things on sale or on clearance, but they're really hard to find. But yeah, that's a fun game. I'm
So
hoping to play
Ryan, I
with
was
my
going to ask because I don't game, but I know a little or this one thing about it. So you ended up, you think you have the version 1 box of it that, if I recall, was sort of kind of went black and red in its color scheme, where the version 2 of X-Wing's miniature was black and blue. You have the black and red one?
It's almost like editions. There's 1, 1.5, and then 2. 2 is the new one that does not tie in with edition 1. You could bring edition 1 into version 2 with if you buy like a special conversion pack, which is just change in cards, and it because edition 2 has more play styles, and edition 1 has a little bit less to do, which is fine by me because I want to keep the kids entertained without a big long game. So edition 1 is gray with red lettering. Edition 1.5, which can be played with 1, is like darker gray but with blue lettering. And then edition 2 is the black with red lettering, and that's the ones you'll see in the stores right now. But yeah, it's kind of fun. Finding ships is difficult, but I just went out and bought an entire new edition 1.5 because each ship is like $14. And imagine like a Micro Machine. So I was like, man, this is crazy. But I can buy a whole another game.
We called it physical DLC when we did our gaming episode.
Oh my gosh, yeah, physical deal. That's exactly. And it was like 15 or 25 or even $40 for a ship. And I'm like, but it's kind of neat because you can just place giant ships in the middle and fly around and try to defend them type of thing. So I like it. It's only 2 players. I'm sure you can make house rules for more. You know, if you wanted to just have Boba Fett or Jango Fett or any other type of ships that you can fight everybody else. So I just went out and bought a whole nother game. It's exactly the same, except for it comes with 3 pieces, 2 X-Wings and another fighter, but it's a blue X-Wing instead of a red. So in my head, I'm already like, okay, we have 2 X-Wings. We have red leader and blue leader, and then we have 4 TIE fighters that we can battle. So I'm having all these battles in my head already, but it seems fun. I'm excited to play it because there's a quick play. It's an original edition, but that game is what I'm pretty excited for.
Essentially, if we ever do a meetup with all of us and like at celebration thing, we will not have between me and Ryan a shortage of Star Wars board games to play or tabletop.
Yeah, we got Villainous. I'm sure we'll have Clone Wars, which is awesome. I can't wait for that one. Yeah, that's many Monopolies. It'll be up all night at the hotel room.
I think you're hard pressed anymore because it's been a good amount of time. I even think I'm sure pre-COVID or whatever, but I've seen like those ships blown out of clearance, whatever, like a Barnes and Noble. And this is definitely going to be your mileage may vary type of thing or whatever, where they discounted some of them or because of that series, because it was series 1 or series 2. I can't imagine. I don't know that I'm even beginning to pretend why they were discounting those ships or discounting the things that go into that game. But I just remember picking them up because they were very cool. They were different ships and different iterations of Slave 1 or the Falcon or whatever. And they were heavily discounted because they were clearing through them. So you might find something like that, but again, I think that's been such a long time since I've seen that sort of thing that I don't know if you're going to find that in that type of store. But an old comic shop or an old hobby shop or a comic shop or something like that might still have an old stock or something of them.
You remember how I got those old figures? The episode 1 ones were like $2. I think they had some of the X-Wing stuff there.
Yeah, well, if you see any of the gray box X-Wing, or like I said, I think it's even blue and gray or red and gray. Oh, believe me, I've been on eBay, I've been on Poshmark, I've been on Facebook Marketplace, I've been all over the place trying to find ones that aren't, because I don't want to pay $20 for one ship type of thing. And they're small ships. I mean,
Anybody
they're
got
smaller
any
than
on
my.
the cheap? Hit up Ryan on our Twitter.
Yeah, if you ain't playing them, I'm just getting into it. So, but yeah, it's fun. I'm excited to play a kind of like a 2D open space, go your own direction game with battling. So,
Yeah,
more board games.
I went to a shop that, remember, Ryan, I told you I had that shop by my house that had D&D stuff. Like, it had a bunch of X-Wing stuff too, but I think it was probably the new version.
Yeah, I thought my comic store had it. It's a smaller comic store, but I'm glad they have it. But like I said, I am not going to get the second edition because I do not want to spend $20, $30, $40 for one ship just to expand the game. So I'm like, no, I'll stick with the old. So I'm glad it's the old version pretty much. But yeah, it's about games and books, man. I might have watched Andor. I don't know about that show.
Excellent. Okie dokie. And last but most certainly not least, we have Ron.
Greetings, everyone. Yeah, mine's been quite a busy since we last got together and thinking about it. A friend of mine invited me to a pinball show convention. I don't know what it was. It was something somewhat quasi-local. Haven't seen this friend in a long time. His father was into. Anyway, went to that, and I'm going to post a couple pictures in the chat that there's a Mandalorian fancy pinball machine. It was very cool. Got to play some old Star Wars pinball games or whatever. So that was kind of a neat little variance, dalliance. And it was the one vendor. So there's a bunch of vendors. The thing you learn there, everybody collects anything kind of thing, whatever. I was just surprised. I was a total noob, right? So never been to anything like this before or whatever. And just the pinball pieces and parts and the boards. There's a lot that goes into pinball machines that have been collected over the years. And one guy had manuals. So I'm rifling through, just kind of killing time trying to figure out till my friend texts me back. And I found a manual for a Star Wars pinball machine. So there weren't any prices. So I asked him, how your manuals are priced. And he's like, they're between $5 to $10. Well, I know this is going to be the $10 manual just because it's got Star Wars on it. But I go back and rifle through, and then it's like, well, I found one I'm interested in. I said, what's this one? He's like, oh, that's that's $10. I'm like, well, you have two of them. Can you take 5? He's like, no, that one's complete. So I couldn't really argue with him because it was out of my element, and it was something unique to add to the collection. So that was a cool.
Ron, if you only knew how much time I spent on that episode 1 pinball game.
cool addition. Yeah, it definitely was episode 1. It was very cool to see a Mandalorian one there, and I learned again, total noob, the Mandalorian one. And in a lot of pinball machines, they have a Pro edition and then a Premier edition, and the Premier edition has a bunch of moving stuff inside of it. So the Premier edition one had a Baby Yoda in there who was, cooing, and his ears are moving, his eyes are blinking, his hands are doing the force moves and all that. The Pro version, or the base model, if you will, is just sort of a Baby Yoda statue just there, which is cool too if you don't know there's one that moves. But had no idea that pinball games were kind of like cars, where you had a base version, a GL version, or an SL version, and then an SLX, or whatever you want to say. There's 3 versions of pinball games to get you an entry level, or the premier one that has a fancy top and the sides graphics and all that. The outrunning around hitting the stores, it's I don't want to say the supply chain thing has been solved or is no longer an issue, but hit a number of targets, and the stocking of the shelves is definitely evident. And it seems like perhaps they've figured out, or Hasbro's figured out, they're shipping full cases of figures, that the pegs weren't a random scattering of figures. The peg had 7 or 8 of the same figure on there. I saw the Boba Fett.
They weren't all Landos either.
Yeah, that's what was interesting, is to see that Lando thing is now you're seeing it with other figures, Boba Fett, and I can't think of the other names of it. It's well, maybe that's how they realized that, and they're shipping them that way. The first one I was at, I thought, well, maybe it was just an industrious toy stocking employee that said, oh, I'm going to put all these guys on this figure or on this peg, all these. But when I saw it at 2 other stores, I'm like, okay, that is not what's happening here. They're being shipped that way and being sent out, to the stores as multi-pack. So yep, they're definitely stocking or gearing up for Christmas. or were holding on to stock so they'd have it for this Christmas time, or it's just making its way there. But there's things to be had out there. Definitely benefited from things being cleared out. The Trick or Treat stash has grown immensely as I was able to pick up a number of Antok Merricks, Galen Ursos, Costco Reeves, a bunch of things that were on the clearance rack, for the 70%
I found the
off.
robot from Kenobi.
Yeah, he seems to be hard to find. Kenobi's definitely getting restocked. I've seen a bunch of that out and about. And yeah, that Ned B or whatever he is. Yep, as it should be. So the kids, can have this. But the droid definitely the yellow droid. Is it Ned B or Ned B1? Anyway, he seems to be not short packed, but he seems to be, there's just not as many of him out there. But right, those Kenobi figures, it's a really odd time to be a collector. The Kenobi figures, you can find the exact same figures twice. You can find them in the vintage collection series and then the old school retro collection series. It's just weird to see them both out at the same time, and I'm sure it's like anything, your mileage may vary type of scenario, but definitely found a bunch of things out there.
I ended up getting the regular Kenobi and not the retro one because I like the way it looks.
Well, collector had to have both. Yeah, those retro ones definitely. I don't say they look weird, but they're going for that retro look of the original figure, so that they would look good if you had them. That you could have a big collection that way if you wanted to have them in line with all of them. Oh, I saw the Mando figure with the spider, which seems like he's really that is a well behind the times, because that was released, that episode, and that Mando thing, was a long time ago, but his figure's just now making it out. So
yeah, I just seen that in the store too, and I was like, how have I not seen this before?
Yeah,
so
I've seen it in a comic shop or two that was with the price premium. I'm like, oh, I missed that guy. Boy, how did he ever get it? And then I'm seeing it in the store. So yeah, it's a very tricky time to be a collector because of the scattershot nature of things.
On my floor right now that I haven't even opened because I've just been picking them up whenever I see them. We haven't had time to play with
them. And then I've posted another thing in the chat where the Targets have some Visions statuettes or maquettes, or I don't know what to call them. But there was one of the Ronin that I think will end up being very popular. I think the twins were there. Did I take pictures of that for you, Ryan? I think the twins were there as part of it. So yeah, it's been a very busy month or whatever the time's been in terms of my Star Warsing. There's been a lot to it. I'm looking forward to the trick or treat time because I picked up a lot of, while I was finding the Galen Ursos and the Merricks. And the Merrick's pretty cool. He's blue leader, so he could, I don't think kid's gonna be excited about Galen Urso, although he is the guy that he's a pretty critical figure, but not anything needed. Whatever. But I ended up finding a bunch of Mandos on sale, so I'm sure I'm gonna have my share of Mandos dressed up coming across the trick or treat transom. That I'll be excited to hook them with a Mando figure that they'll be excited about. It might be a female Mando, but still it's a Mando in the Mando getup, so still should be excited for it. Oh, GameStop was another place that I hit. So GameStop tends to have clearance every once in a while, or a yellow stickered clearance that you can find things. But they've been doing a 50% off the clearance price, trying to blow stuff out or whatever, and hit a couple of GameStops with much success in finding some great trick or treat fodder on the cheap in that as well. So yep, been a very busy, productive, fun bit of Star Warsing this past month.
You're making me
into free GameStops trying to get deals.
Yeah, so that is an amazing your mileage may vary scenario there. So I had some travel and ended up hitting a bunch of different ones. And one was like a jackpot, hit fig pins, found a bunch of fig pins on clearance that were then half off that I didn't have in the collection, and just figures and retro figures that were discounted and being blown out, and some of the gaming great 6-inch Black Series figures that were clearance and being blown, and then other ones you'd go to and I couldn't find squat. I guess it depends on if there's a Star Wars collector in the area or what they had in stock or however that works. But yeah, the GameStops are very much your mileage may vary scenario.
And I like that Boba with the helmet removal, and I got the retro one, doesn't do that.
Yep, been a good time.
I like the pinball machines, I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. I wish I could hear the sounds. The place we were in was very noisy. Yeah. I'd love to hear them in a quiet setting, just because pinball machines, they have all that sound effects and just all that great stuff as you're hitting things and moving on to things. I gotta
I think
find.
if I ever won the lottery and I had a sort of like a man's room, whatever it is, I would definitely have a pinball machine in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the challenge there is the space. I mean, obviously the challenge is the expense too, but the space on those things, or the space you need for those things
And the
is
noise.
substantial.
I just see all the lights in there. I wonder what the electric bill is like too.
So I've just
Can't
posted. I need some
sneak
help.
down
I've
on
just
like
posted a picture in the chat. It's going to be the last one that I posted. So on the side art of the
Oh my
machines,
god!
they have the characters. So if you can see what I've posted, I apologize for anybody listening, but we'll describe it. But it's got characters on it, and it's got. Oh, now I'm going to draw
That's
a blank.
Hogwarts down the bottom, isn't it? Hogwarts.
Who is
the
right?
franchise.
That's my question, Stephen. Is
He's
who's on the
Mando season
bottom?
1.
Who is it?
Yeah.
He's the one that introduced them into. He's the one that got them the job for the prison break. Remember?
Yeah, he had that satellite
Yeah,
almost where they
like
had their central base.
He had that
And he
machine shop,
introduced-
or it was like a mechanic place, whatever, wasn't it?
It's the place that got blown up. When they
Oh,
put the track-
he was the old friend of Mando's
Yeah.
ish, and sent him with put him on the
Bill Maher.
crew with Bill Maher, and they would go to the prison and everything. He comes back and sort of double cross Mando. Okay, yeah, I had no idea who that guy was. That's why I
Yeah,
took
I
the
would
picture,
remember him.
because I couldn't pull him to save my life. Everybody else I recognized obviously, but
It's also from the dark.
I forget what's on the other side. I think I have that one somewhere as well. But yeah, the graphics on the pinball machines are
It's
always
really odd to put him on there.
Yeah, he was
Randy-
so minor.
Randy-
Like, why is he on there?
Yeah, so
Side
this is what's on.
characters on the side.
Yeah, right. The side they needed somebody else. This is what's on the other side, and then again, I'm posting some stuff in the chat. So sorry for anyone that might be listening. Yeah, Frog Lady made it.
Oh right, brilliant.
And that's these two speak to a bit of the difference in machines, because I've posted another picture of it with the side art where it doesn't have that fancy of art. It's just a picture of Mando walking. So there's who knew? I had no clue. I really don't know that I ever realized or thought about it or gave it much thought that the pinball world industry, has different levels of machines like that. Side art is a big thing, depending on where, because if it's sitting next to other machines, you don't really care about all that. But if it's sitting out where you can see it, you want the fancy stuff on the sides. Who knows?
So did you ask what the price was of these?
The fancy one I think was on the order of $8,000.
Camtona of Beskar to get this.
I think the premiere was $8,000. So yeah, they and I don't think that's shipped. I think that's
3,200 was the other one.
I think that's the
3,200. Actually, that's not horrendous, is it? In the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's quite a lot, but it's not horrendous.
Oh, then I think I do have one last thing to share, if I can get these posted real quick. I saw these, and I think I did post these in the group or whatever about things you didn't know existed. And I think it was Ryan that said things you didn't know you needed. Some weird child night lights that were in a home improvement store. Lowe's had these weird Star Wars nightlight, Mandalorian Star Wars night lights. I was just like, oh, I had no idea such a thing existed. But makes sense. I kind of remember having something similar as a kid, maybe. So. Very cool.
I had a Yoda nightlight as a kid.
Yeah.
We broke the ears off because he creeped us out.
Were you allowed to play these, Ron?
The pinball games, yes. Yep.
Yeah, right.
The Star Wars
did you
one
go
had a
through?
bit of a line. No, it was free. So part of your admission of getting into there was a free play area. There's vendors selling their wares. There's people that just bring them just so that people could play them. I don't know about those. There were some machines that just said not for sale, but were allowed to be played. There were a number of those old episode 1 ones that are in different shape, and then there were a bunch of pinball machines that I remember from back in the day, just Black Knight and Hurricane, just fun it was surprising to see the kids there. Parents are bringing kids, but surprising because, I mean, the arcade is a lost art, right? The time out in the mall is where I'd go to play video games back in the day, and play pinball machines, and maybe a 7-Eleven or some convenience store would have a pinball machine. But I think it's a bit of a lost art, and I don't know the kids. So it was neat to me at this thing to see the amount of kids that were there enjoying and having fun playing pinball. Again, they're not pumping quarters into things, so it's easy to let your kid play pinball when you can just hit the button.
A lot of them are play time now. Like you pay for like an hour of play and it's unlimited.
That seems to be the business model, which is great because that way you're right. You can play things, lose your 3 balls quick, and you don't feel like, well, geez, now granted, we just wasted a quarter and we didn't feel that bad about it. Now, when a pinball game is, like $1 for a play and you lose the balls real quick, you're just like, oh my, that's. But yeah, it definitely speaks to I'm getting old.
Yeah, there's a fish and chips place that I go to, and they have pinball machines in there. Every time we would stop in there, I'd some quarters. I love pinball machines. Those look awesome.
Yeah, lots of fun. I mean, you can make it as if you're good, not if you're good at, but you can make it last as long as you can make it last. Sometimes it's luck against you where a ball just goes right down the middle between your flippers and you can't do a thing about it.
Even Ron the side eye because he keeps tilting the table.
My hometown has the Pacific Pinball Museum. I haven't had a chance to go to it because that happened after I moved away, but I'd really love to check it out.
Yeah, some of the stuff is gorgeous. I kind of figured they had the machines because I kept matching. I figured the machines, it wouldn't be beyond them to have a difficulty mode kind of thing or whatever, because they seem to be in a very easy mode. They probably weren't super slanted, right? You have feet levelers on the bottom of it so you can make the playing field really, really slanted and that ball comes down fast, or more sort of flat so the ball kind of floats around. And then so they probably had them set up in a very easy mode and a easy configuration, because like I say, I kept matching and getting free games, which in a normal world was awesome to hear that click noise, that telltale snap of a pinball machine when you've matched the last 2 numbers. So for anybody that doesn't know, pinball was always great because at the end of your game, it would do this sort of gambling type of thing, rotating through the numbers. And if the numbers came up matching the last 2 numbers of your score, you would win a free game. So that was always an exciting element of playing pinball. And it would make this very loud sort of mechanical snap of noise to let you know that you got this free game. Invariably, the story my friend and I told was you'd be out with your parents. They'd let you go play the pinball machine, at the restaurant while you're waiting to order or waiting for your food. They'd give you a quarter or 2 to go play a video game. And invariably, you would match and get a free game, and your parents are yelling at you, come on, get away from that thing. The food's coming, and the food's here. And you're like, but I want a free game. You didn't want to walk away from the machine. So, yeah, very, very good times.
They've advanced since I last played. I didn't have those graphic things at the back when I last played the pinball machine.
That seems to be a big deal. The Mando game, you did that. You played, I don't even know what I did to get the ball stuck somewhere, and then I was playing some sort of game up on that screen. I had to hit the flipper buttons in order to fire at something or shoot at something or select something. Or whatever. So yeah, that seems to be a part of the pinball gameplay these days is you play on the playing field, but if you get it in the right spot or do something, then you get like a mini game up on the graphic board that's up on the top glass. And that's kind of fun right up until I don't know what's going on. I can't hear the sound at all. So I don't know that mini game part of the deal is over, and then the ball is released out of wherever it was back into the playing field. But my eyes aren't down there looking at that part because I was up watching the screen and miss the ball and have a good. But it's still a whole lot of fun. And a bunch
I probably played more electronic pinball games than physical ones. I remember I used to play a lot on my Amiga. Pinball Fantasies, I think it was called, the game.
They have the Star Wars one for the Nintendo Switch. I played that one all the time. You can flip the Switch like sideways, and it's actually you can have it like a long screen, so it works that way.
Oh, that's neat.
Cool. Did it recognize if you sort of bumped it? Like could you tilt that? Could be cool on the Switch.
Yeah, no, I got that one on the cheap. I think I got that for like $15 like years back. Yeah, it's really cool. It has it has all the different eras of Star Wars.
Oh, and for the Pop fans, I noticed the one picture I put in there. The GameStops had this huge. Oh, that thing had to be maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot tall Boba Fett box of a Pop. That I think it was like $100. I can't imagine, but everybody loves Boba Fett. But just this huge, original looking, painted, distressed, dented helmet Boba Fett figure at the GameStops. I'm sure I'm sure each GameStop maybe had one of those if they'd have two, because that was just a huge thing on their shelf that was going to collect a lot of dust. I can't imagine who would have room for something like that. But there's that Boba Fett fan in town that just has to have that thing. They're going to be chasing it because I'm sure it looks cool if you like that stylized version that is the Pops of your favorite figure.
I just look at the back of that Star Wars projection thing. It's quite amusing. It says risk of electrical shock. This is not a toy. This is not a toy. It says it twice, and it's not intended for use by children. And its next bullet point for adult use only. I mean, they're really drilling it home there on that one. It is a toy. I also noticed the warning. This product can, I'm trying to read, can expense you chemicals, including blah, 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 which is known in the state of California to cause cancer. Is that only in California it's known to cause cancer?
So yeah, that's definitely welcome to America packaging that we have to litigate and otherwise put every last warning in there is don't use this the wrong way. It gets to the whole Kinder egg where we're not allowed to have the Kinder eggs because our kids are somehow idiots and will eat the thing with the candy in it and whatever. And then California is all there. Sorry for anyone from California, but they're just a nutsy pagan about their rules and regulations.
Warning for that's what's
for
called the Prop 65 warning. Those are mandatory on anything that has anything that could potentially maybe cause cancer in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
So isn't it safe to say just about anything you buy in California has that warning on it, right? Does anyone use that and go, "Oh, I'm not buying this product. I need one that doesn't have that warning on it"? Who's
I've never in my life and said, "Oh, hey, this might cause cancer, so I'm not going to get it." No, never.
Nope. This has that warning on it. Can't buy that. Not bringing that into my house. No way, no how. Yeah, that's what kills. That's what kills me about it.
There who does that, but me myself, I look at that and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Still gonna buy it.
More of a CYA.
Still gonna buy it. Still gonna bring it into my house.
All right, it's the CYA one. So yeah, that's been a very, as evident by all the photos. There's plenty out there. Go check it out. But it's been a very busy Star Wars month.
Now I assume the chemicals they're talking about are plasticky chemicals, are they? Because I don't know.
Like weed killer and stuff like that was on there. So yeah, that was a Prop 65 thing.
Do they have a warning for when you exit the house? And what reminds you that the air you breathe might cause cancer?
Unfortunately,
you got to remember that like a lot of things that America says okay, the United Kingdom has banned in their food too. So
that's actually right. Yeah. That's
there's a lot of chemicals you guys don't use that it's okay with us because they don't care if they. I won't get into that. Never mind. But we just have things that are blocked in different countries, so I won't rant on that.
Yeah, there's something about bleaching chicken. I think you guys bleach your chicken and stuff for yourself. We refuse to do that over here. I think that's far
more fun.
Chemical.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah,
we've got it there. It's strange.
The corn lobby here is huge. That has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we could have a whole podcast about that, but we won't because everybody will be falling asleep. Okay, so thanks very much, Ron. As always, finding the bargains for us, so saving me a trip to the shops anyway. Although I don't get any freebies from Ron, but do bear me in mind in Christmas list, Ron. Okay, so we are on to the news. News in the land of Star Wars since...
I was going to say, speaking of farmers, Andor.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet. No, not quite. Ryan has some news to tell us all this week. That's Star Wars, not first. Go on,
not
Ryan.
general news. Prop 65 news coming at you. So execute Prop 65. There we go. That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
So a couple Star Wars related news. Harrison Ford, for the MCU fans, has been cast as the new Thunderbolt Ross. He's in Star Wars, so it counts as Star Wars news, which I thought was a huge announcement.
I'm not ready for mustachioed Harrison Ford.
Yeah, right. It's going to be really weird. And honestly, like, how long do they expect to have him in the role? Because, I mean, let's be honest, he's getting up there. So, but I was quite surprised by that. And he was hurting there. He, like, broke his rib or shoulder or something.
I don't know that character at all. Never heard of him before in my life. I'd lose a bet if I had to say whether or not he exactly was. Could they be using him as that something that they introduced the character, but he also goes away in that first movie type of thing, to have him and have an expendable character.
Well, the movie's named after
he kind of appears. He's kind of appearing here and there in the MCU type of thing. So, but he is almost like a villain to the Hulk. Not really a villain, but Bruce Banner dated Thunderbolt Ross's daughter, and then he turns into the Hulk, and Thunderbolt Ross is always like, he's a menace to society. He's pretty much the J. Jonah Jameson for the Hulk. type of thing, or the Lex Luthor to the Hulk. He just hates it because yeah, and he's a big general and stuff like that. So at times he's been good too. So I won't get into all the MCU talk and the possibility of Red Hulk having Harrison Ford's face, but I thought that was still very interesting that they cast him in there, and it's going to be interesting to see him really embrace himself as a gruff old man that's always in a bad mood. So
so you're saying it's not much of a stretch for Harrison? The role
Yeah,
that
no.
he's okay.
He's gonna be a grumpy guy.
Let's go get this Hulk.
Get the Hulk.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. The rest of the news just kind of seemed to be High Republic related. They pushed back the comic, which I've been aching for, Blade of Bardota. They pushed it back to December 28th, which is becoming very difficult to track. Upcoming, so after people listen to this podcast, they can plan what's coming up before the next one. Tales of the Jedi so far releases on October 26th, unless they push that back again, but that's coming very soon at the end of this month, so we can all talk about Tales of the Jedi. The High Republic Path of Deceit has obviously released. The comic Quest of the Jedi drops this month, and I believe it was also the end of October. And then Quest for the Hidden City, which is the middle grade book, drops, I believe, November 2nd. So a lot of High Republic coming here in the next month to play catch up on, including a Visions one-shot comic that dropped featuring a prequel for the Ronin, which I enjoyed. And then they kicked off the High Republic main series on Marvel. So I guess a lot of comics and books coming out, some shows right around the corner. So it's, again, the golden era of Star Wars is what I always call it. So it's looking really good for the next coming months.
Yeah, the drought is over.
It's and I'm drowning.
And for those listening in the UK who want to get their hands on Path of Deceit, they will notice that if you wanted to buy the book, you'll still be waiting a couple more weeks. It's not actually scheduled for release over here yet as a physical copy, but you can get it on Audible right now. So that's what I did. That helped me get past my decision I've been debating for ages. Do I get physical media? Do I get Audible? Do I get electronic media for this book? Didn't have a choice this time around. There are some strange release. Most of the time, everything is released roughly the same date between the UK and the US and the High Republic it's been. But sometimes you get like this. You've got to wait a bit longer if you want the physical media as opposed to the audio. Then sometimes we had the lab
there. I'm just going to listen to it. But like you were saying, like that it was very monotone. The audio, it is, because I've been like literally trying to listen to it in the car, and then
I didn't like it. I didn't like it compared to. It's not a full song and Birds and Whistles song and dancing sort of audible like I was used to with the big ones, the big books. But I've got used to it now. I was like, oh, this feels like a poor man's cousin Audible, but no, I've got used to it now. In terms of the production quality, obviously, but in terms of the actual story, this is going to push quite close, I think, for one of my top 3, the High Republic books so far.
I think I'm only like on chapter 7, but
I'm really excited for it.
There it is, absolutely brilliant. I can't say anything else. I was going to can't say anything else but hopefully this time next month we will be able to talk about it, because by that time the other book would have dropped, which I don't know what the release date
hours
is.
For the audiobook, Stephen, or was it 7? Was it 7 or 11?
Sorry?
How long is that audiobook?
How long is the audiobook? 8 hours.
8
hours. Yeah, 8.5 hours. Yeah.
Usual young adult length. It's usually like 8 to 10 hours. It seems like
the big books are like 17 hours or something like that. And usually around about 8 hours. Yeah. And I think Search for the Hidden Temple, Hidden City is the next one coming near the end of the month. High Republic. I think that's
Quest of the Jedi. The comic book comes out this week. Quest of the Hidden. There's a lot of Quest. Quest of the Hidden City is November 1st.
Right. Yes. I think that's junior, isn't it? That's
middle grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But still, It I got confused because I watched the High Republic show when they're having that round the table stuff, talking and stuff. I don't think they reveal anything that is too spoilery. So I think from memory you could watch that and not be too spoiled. But they talked about that book you just said as if it was already out, and I thought, I'm sure it's not. I quickly looked online. I'll quickly buy it, but it's not out yet. So I don't know why the way they talk about it. They say, "Oh, it's out now."
I haven't watched any of the character reveal things yet because I'm my book.
Yeah, I did watch that the round table, Steven, and I noticed that too. They're like, well, Path of Deceit is out and Quest for the Hidden City. I'm like, wait, what? No, it's not. So again,
it's wrong. Yeah.
They're writing years ahead, so I'm sure they get confused by it. But yeah, it's definitely coming up soon.
Oh, I do have
2 more
weeks
weeks
too. That kind of this reminded me of it's Star Wars Reads Month because it's October, so they always issue the activity packet on the StarWars.com website, and it usually has like mazes and puzzles and some coloring pages, tons of coloring pages on there this year, and it had a bunch of High Republic pages. So they had you can color the Blade of Bardata, you can color Vern, you can color all these other characters. So they had an Elzar Mann. Yeah, there's tons of cool High Republic. I'm glad they tied in High Republic and Visions into the packet this year. So if you get a chance, go to StarWars.com and go download it and pick up some Star Wars books and have your kids read for Star Wars Reads Month. So every October, they do it every year. So.
They've definitely ramped up the spotlight on the High Republic for this phase with more animations. When they started off the first one with lots of animations, and it went a bit hickory-pickory doing the phase, but they started off quite nicely with the animations all over the place and images of characters, which is always very helpful for us, especially for me, knowing what people look like, because sometimes I've gone through some of these books and I have no idea what the person looks like.
That's kind of the hard thing with the coloring pages for the High Republic, because I don't know what they look like.
Completely passed me by. But I've made a point. Well, I got into like 2 or 3 chapters into this one, and I thought, hang on a minute, there's some character pictures out for this book. I'm going to have a good look at them. So no, and I think it helps you identify a lot more with them. When the people come along, you feel like you already kind of know them a bit once you've seen their image first. I know there's some already on the front cover, but having the Audible, that's not quite in your face as much. And then I didn't actually realise until now. I think I'm on chapter. I'm not sure. Ben about 15 or something like that.
I thought you were.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were finished. Path of Deceit.
No. I'm about chapter 15, roundabout. But I didn't realise that the front cover was, you could say, 2 of the main characters are the ones on the front, who they were on the front. It never occurred to me who they were on the front, as I never took much notice on the front cover and stuff. So now I know. And it's really, I'd say, really good book. And I think it's going to be right up there by the time we get done. But we shall see. It's very, very intriguing. But hopefully we can talk about it next month, because there is a lot to unpick from that book.
Oh, and I just got breaking news from my wife. She just bought me the Millennium Falcon X-Wing for the game that I got. She just texted me. She's like, "You want this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want it." So, breaking news: the game is expanding still.
Nice, well done.
Wow, fantastic! You heard it here, folks. Not exclusive to the podcast.
Yeah,
okay. Right now. So, okay, onwards and upwards, and it's time to move on to Andor, which I believe some of us have been watching. And last time, in the last episode of the podcast, we talked about the first 3 episodes of Andor's.
Spoiler warning!
And so we've had another 3 since then, and I'm leaving it to Ryan to more articulately summarize the last 3 episodes, and then we shall have an all-round the table discussion on them. Take it away, Ryan.
Okay, starting with episode 4 called Aldani. So, which is the planet they go to. So, Luthen Rail takes Cassian to the planet Aldani, asking him to join a sabotage mission there to provide backup. Cassian is reluctant, but eventually agrees. Rail asks him to use a pseudonym among the rebels, and Cassian chooses, as Ron puts it, a very American name, Clem. So he chooses Clem. We could touch on that later. So Vel, the rebel group's leader, introduces him to the rest of the group, but keeps Rail's involvement a secret. They explain to Cassian that they are planning on stealing the payroll of the Imperial garrison from a key Imperial supply hub, taking advantage of a rare natural phenomenon in Aldani's sky to escape since the getaway vehicle is slow. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Rail, posing as an antiques dealer, meets with Senator Mon Mothma, and they discuss challenges in keeping their opposition to the Empire hidden. Karn goes to live with his mother, which is great, after being castigated and fired. The Imperial Security Bureau, Lieutenant Dedra Miro, seeks access and authority over the Ferrix incident, if you remember her, the security lady all dressed in white, but is faced with opposition from her colleagues and superiors. And that was episode 4.
Wig talk.
And wherever we want to touch base.
Luthen puts on a nice wig.
Yeah, yeah, wig talk.
Wig talk.
So I thought, and I didn't realize it till later, but the name Clem was apparently the guy that rescued him with that his mother lady, right?
Oh.
I believe his name is Clem. So that's why he called himself that. Marva, yeah, that was her name. Thank you.
Do we hear that, or somebody picked that up in somehow? Because I've heard that same thing, Ryan, but I don't know that we ever heard his name mentioned in a previous episode.
On that episode where he shows up on the ship.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know.
I'll corroborate. I've heard that same sort of thing. That it was the dad figure, right? Whoever was with Marva when they found him on the ship name that he picked.
Did you guys catch the solo tie-in on this episode? Where,
which one?
Luthen is talking to Cassian about Mimbam.
Oh, yes.
Pitted them against each other. So was he there when Han was there? When they were having that battle against the locals? Wondering. They both enlisted.
I don't know what the timeline is.
Yeah, I think the fight on Mimbam took a very long time. And if you recall, Luthen kind of called him out and said, well, you weren't there for 6 months and you weren't on the ground. You were there as a cook and you ran to save yourself or whatever. Yeah. So it's a tie, but it's a tie only. Although he did say one thing that I thought was interesting. He says, you're right about one thing. They did have you fighting yourselves. Yeah. What's I'd be curious the EU aspect of what's that about.
Supposedly, there was like a kind of a rebellion on Mimbat because I guess everyone kept trying to strip mine it since the Clone Wars. So the Separatists were there. And then when the Empire switched over, the stormtroopers obviously, or the clone troopers obviously stay there. I guess they tried taking out the local Mimbam population. And so they had some kind of little rebellion, and so I guess they kind of did like a General Crow kind of thing where they had two sides fighting against each other. They didn't know who was who. So yeah, that's kind of like what happened. So that's how they got rid of the rebel threat there with the locals. So I don't know if Cassian was part of that or if they just had the troopers shooting each other or what was going on. But obviously in Solo, a lot of people died. So wars. Yeah, I don't know how long.
Yeah, I don't know if Mimban is covered in like Clone Wars or Rebels at all, or is it just
no,
it's never mentioned.
It's still open to be discovered.
Our first foray into it is Solo, but I kind of remember when Solo came out, the EU fans or whatever were talking about it had been a thing or established.
Splinter in the Mind's Eye was
somewhere. Oh yeah, maybe it was that old, right?
Yeah.
So it was a neat tie-in at that point. And then, Andor's just sort of helped add some more to it.
So did you guys see the breakdown videos for the Antiquity Place? All the stuff that they discussed in there.
I did see some Mando armor in there.
Yeah, I've seen some, but do we have a list of what's... There was the panel that Ahsoka has in the Rebels. There was some Gungan shield thing, wasn't there?
Ooh, I think. Yeah. It's the way that people pause and break down like every background image is just it's so fun. The people who set up these areas are like, let's put, like I said, a Gungan shield. Like, let's put that in the background. Maybe some holocrons, Beskar, Starkiller armor from the Force Unleashed game. Like, it just went crazy. So I gotta appreciate the time that they put in that just for fans to pause this one screenshot and look around for like an hour. So it was really good.
I've seen posts about Indiana Jones, the stones in the
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
second
There?
movie.
Right.
They
Yeah,
thought
his
that-
whip and his boots are in carbonite type of thing. It's like, oh, it's so clever. But yeah, I like his antiquity because then he can have all this old stuff and kind of trade it back and forth type of thing. So Luthen Rail is so interesting, and Skarsgård is just crushing it in every scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we reckon, as a prediction, do we reckon he's going to last to the end of the season? I almost see him with a red T-shirt on at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't see him lasting personally, but I thought he was going to get it at the end of the last episode, but we'll get to that later.
That's a good point, Stephen, where you say, because remember in the earlier episodes, Mon says, if we're discovered, I'm at most risk. So there could be a point where they're almost discovered and he just takes the blame to save her because, like Bale, her may be more important than him.
That's what I'm just getting ready to ask. Is right. If you think he's not long for the series, is it because he, dies fighting or he dies sacrificially in some sense? And I would agree that if he does go, it would be in that sense in order to save the bigger cause type of thing, whatever. Because he definitely seems to be a very big picture, a very big cause, much like Mothma's role in all of this. That it's very well written in their intrigue and their having you on the edge of your seat in their scenes and how this is playing out and some of the risks that they are taking and are being subjected to. That I find that part of the show and the story that we're seeing unfold so far very enjoyable, very very much enjoyable. That part of it. Love the Mon scenes.
They can't win, so they have to have lots of losses because their first victory basically was Yavin. So. And Scarif, I guess.
I've thought of that too, but that can be spun on its head. That can be from a certain point of view. That can be from a what is it? From a secret have won their first victory against the evil galactic empire, and the empire. Or I forget anyway, there's semantics. Yeah, there's semantics that.
But they're gonna lose people along the way, like tons of people. So, and they still got to bring Bale into the picture and all that stuff. So yeah, I think he's a goner. I think his time is ticking. Nothing will remain of him except the wig.
Just spinning in the air.
Was this the episode? I forget what's what, but I found that a fun twist too. That we thought this Luthen character was but to see him sort of put on the rings and the wig and the persona and the affectations and just doing all that so that he could be in that role. It was a clever character twist as well.
I got very Joker feels where you just see the character transform and just put this. Like the fake smile, the hand movement, and then it all goes away, and then it all comes. I was like, oh, so brilliant, just the way that character is written.
Is this the one where he
just really the duality?
He gives him that,
like you say, Skarsgård nailing it.
This one.
Say again, Ricky.
Is this the one where he gives him that kyber crystal?
It must be because I think he left.
Yeah, he left.
Yeah, that's where he left. So yeah, that's where he first gives him the kyber crystal.
So is that actual kyber? Or is that like they called it something else? They called it something kyber.
Star. Yeah, it was a something
kyber.
Yeah, sky kyber. They didn't call it a kyber crystal.
Because it had blue in it, because usually kyber's colorless now.
Yeah.
Well, it was
so
kind of right. One half of it had blue in it, right? I kind of like one half was clear white, and the other part was blue.
But we do know that there's different kinds of crystals from the God, what book covered that? Was that Brotherhood? No.
What about him?
You're right. It was, right? The one with the one with Obi-Wan and it was Master and Republic. Master and Apprentice. They had like
where they had the orange crystals and stuff. Yeah, Master and Apprentice.
And they could try to use them as a lightsaber, but they wouldn't really work the same way. So maybe this thing has some kind of weird property to it. I mean, it could be what powers the Darksaber. Who knows? Yeah.
They needed it from a storytelling point of view, but yeah, how does Luthen know all about Andor? I guess he would need to because he's built his crew with Val and everybody else. He needs to build a crew of people that he does know their backgrounds and is very thorough. Right, is needs to build a crew of people he can trust. Because that speaks to how is he trying to pick up Andor and catch up with him, because he said he wasn't there for the Starpath unit, he was there for him because he knows how does he know that from Bix and all that sort of stuff. But very thorough is probably the answer to that, because he's got to find people that are going to be loyal to the cause, or not so much loyal, but be invested in the cause in such a way.
Yeah.
Find some true.
And I want to see more of the crystal. Like, there's so much more. Like, even the line from the beginning where he's like, "What was that?" when they blasted off into hyperspace. I want to know more about that line because they wouldn't bring that up if there wasn't a reason, type of thing. So there's still so many unanswered, like small little quirk questions that I want to know more about.
You're talking about
So-
when Andor and Luthen are on the ship and they jump to hyperspace, and he says how what's powering this?
And he falls backwards. Yeah, they have to explore that again because otherwise it's like, why even bring it up? Why show this Kyber crystal if they're not going to explore it again? Like, there's so many callbacks that I still want to see that I'm just 100% invested in this. So, I guess we can.
I don't think that's what you're going on, but I have seen people take issue about him being shocked at the hyperspace, and I was like, I don't think that's what I did. That's not what I took out of that scene. I took him asking the question, how, what's powering this ship? I've flown them before and they didn't, they couldn't go that fast basically, or whatever. So I didn't take it he was surprised at the hyperspace. I took it as him questioning hey, what's going on? What's powering this ship? Because the ones I've flown couldn't do it before.
Wasn't it a point where they said, like, I don't know if it's New Hope or what, but where like the Falcon was a small ship to have a hyperdrive or something like that? So maybe he's
even X-Wing.
You might be thinking of that no ship that small has a cloaking device. It's one of the few lines that shouldn't have been in Star Wars, but the Clone Wars did well to sort of squash that.
But maybe he's just never had any ships that like flown. I mean, look at Rey. Rey went to space and she didn't remember what.
Well, that's what they were trying to argue about him. He was with Marva, and they had to have jumped. He had to have seen it before. He couldn't have been shocked by it. But that's not my takeaway from the scene. I don't think he's shocked by the jumping to hyperspace. He's shocked by that particular ship's ability to. What's powering.
It sounds like it's some kind of like heavy, bulky thing that shouldn't go that fast, maybe.
Yeah, well, we touched on it on the last episode. I don't want to get back into it again. It's just it is with Karn living with his mother. I wanted to touch on Karn too. Just the beaten down and taken from the top spires down to the depths of Coruscant, and his mother always wanting more from him, and sit up straight. And I'm like, oh, this is, and he still hates. I know we discussed it earlier where he might turn good. Someone mentioned he might turn good, and I was adamant. I'm like, no. He's mad at him, and he's still staring at that picture of Cassian like, oh, my mother's a total jerk because of Cassian. He's probably blaming everything on Cassian, and I just want to see more of this disheveled man get his revenge, really.
See, I thought an interesting potential story beat could be where he turns rebel, if you will, so to speak, because he's so mad at what the Empire did to his corporate sector job. Right? He wasn't Empire and got demoted and sent, and had to go home and live with his mom. He was corporate sector that was doing his job perfectly, if you will, because he was investigating the death of two other. Everything he did was right, but in the Empire's mind, it's like, you made a mess of this. We're coming. I could see him being mad at the Empire, joining the rebels, getting into a big gig, and then meeting up with Andor and going, holy crap, you're the guy, you're the reason I'm here and my life turned, and then he has to make a decision. Does he still want to fight with the rebellious cause, or does he want to get that revenge on Andor? I kind of saw that as a potential story beat.
I don't think he blames the Empire, though, because it was the, that whatever firm that he worked for that I can't remember the name of, it was their incompetence. And then the Empire's like, you're all fired because you're all idiots, and now we're taking control. So I wouldn't blame the Empire. It was like his boss. He's like, I told you.
Well, yeah, for sure. Don't bring what's he say in that first episode or second episode? Yeah, the purpose of that speech, should you ever be called upon it, is brevity.
Yeah.
You don't want to draw any attention to the Empire.
Don't draw any attention to the sweet gig, because otherwise,
right?
It could all be over in an instant. And he does. He draws all the attention and all the eyes.
So, should we move on to the next one then, so we could get to the last episode?
How does that one end?
Of course.
Okay.
How does that episode end?
I think it ends with him eating cereal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's him looking at the picture.
Sorry.
He has one of those weird cutoffs where it's just like it ends.
It just ends in the middle of things.
Yeah, him looking at Cassian. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, so,
Like
all
having
right.
a crush on Cassian.
Yeah, you never know.
I hate
So,
crush.
all right. Episode 5, which may be the best title when compared to what's said in the movie, The Axe Forgets. So on Aldani, Clem hides his past from his fellow rebels and receives distrust from most of them, particularly Arvel Skeen. Taramin Barcona trains Cassian and the other rebels for the planned heist. While traveling to Aldani Imperial Garrison, Cassian reveals that he is a mercenary. Bale decides to continue with the mission and hold off on dealing with Clem's past until they achieved their objectives. Later, as part of the heist plan, Val and Cinta split off from the team, leaving Taramin to lead the others. Meanwhile, the Imperial officers and the rebel double agent, Lieutenant Gorn, not to be confused with Star Trek, covertly aids on the rebels. On Coruscant, Edie Karn emasculates her son Cyril some more as he explores new career prospects. Mon Mothma establishes a new charitable foundation while managing increasingly tense relations with her husband and daughter, which I freaking loved. Elsewhere, ISB supervisor Blevin acquire a hotel as the new ISB headquarters on Ferrix. Meanwhile, his rival Miro, a lot of names here, and her assistant Hurt reach the conclusion that rebels are conducting a series of coordinated heists of Imperial weapons and technology. Rael anxiously waits for a transmission from Cassian's rebel team. So another weird just ends. And this one is the one that kind of explored the security barrel, the people all in white and how they're jockeying for information type of thing.
And then this one had them, I think it happened in the last episode, but when they were looking through all the Cassian stuff, and then they did it again this episode. They're trying to figure out what his deal was.
Yeah, so it's definitely showing kind of the infighting in the Empire where she believes something is going on. I can't remember her name. There's so many. Where the female one believes there's so much going on, and then the male one is like, no, I'll take care of it. But us as viewers is like, no, she's right. There is something going on. All these random attacks aren't random. They're planned to look random type of thing. And everyone's blowing her off type of thing.
And
so
she's going, this is too random to actually be random.
Yeah.
I was kind of intrigued by that.
Doesn't she have the good line of if that's how, if I were going to do it, that's how I would do it, that she's thinking like the rebel, so to speak, and not being what Cassian describes in episode 1, not being arrogant and so full of themselves and thinking nothing stinks type of thing, whatever, that she's looking at all of these sort of small little pieces and seeing a potential bigger picture that the heist should probably then also help to feed into in a big, big way.
As usual, the woman is right and the guys are just blowing her off. That's how I look at it.
That's
pretty much. Yeah.
Love it, Marie.
My wife was like, so you're telling me the Empire would have stopped everything if they just listened to her? And I was like, maybe, I guess.
One woman who's making all that noise saying, this is wrong. This is too random to be random. If this was how it was going to go down, this is how I do it. Listen to me. It's happening. And all these guys are like, yeah, whatever, little lady.
Whatever, lady.
You only have 2 sectors. I have 6. We're not going to listen to you. So, yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, and then what else was there? There was...
That little guy had his manifesto he was reading.
And what's the guy that ends up or looking through his stuff, whatever, had all the tattoos? Do we know anything about the tattoos that Andor recognized? Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, they're prison tattoos. That's why he was talking about you spent time in juvie. I see the markings that you got. He's like, you were looking at my markings too. It's like, I spent time in this place. I was here. So you think
they equate to like a prison tat? Okay.
Oh, and I think this is the one. Oh, and then Skeen says, and this is about the title, which is just amazing when it comes to building a rebellion. It's like the axe forgets, but the tree never does. I was like, oh my God, that totally just almost stopped my heart type of thing, because it's such a great
analogy.
Phrase.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is beautiful.
Strips these worlds, and then they just move on. It's one, as in the real world, it's one crazy thing after the other, and they move on to nothing. But then all these people are like, we haven't forgotten what you've done. Just
Right.
because you've gone to another disaster and whatever it may be, doesn't mean that we've forgotten. And I was like, oh, it's so many real world tie-ins that I just love with this show.
Spin everything major of like the whole Order 6. They can spin all that and say it's the Jedi, but you still gonna have people on the ground that know what happened, and no matter how much they try to like spin it or cover it up, they're still gonna have people that in the galaxy that know, like, no, I knew Jedi, I knew, everything was better before the Empire took over, so you're gonna have those see the dissent in people.
Yeah.
It's good. I like how they put, these. It seems like everyone in this group is like from somewhere else, somewhere different. No two are alike. They all have different ideals, but they're all kind of a little mini alliance of people from different systems, and Luthen like put them all together for a purpose. So is he kind of set at them, but maybe not all of them.
This was the Mon Mothma episode with their daughter, because this is the one that had the. Is this really how you'd like to start your day, or is this really the conversation that you'd like to start your day with? And the teenage daughter with the perfect snark was like, I didn't choose this conversation.
Kid.
Yeah. With having teenage daughters, no, definitely know that. And then she's looking at the husband like, appreciate your support. It's like, no, that was a very. Well, he was a great while not some people, or I don't want to say they complained about that particular, but not Star Warsy type of stuff or whatever, but close to real world. But I enjoyed it as part of the episode, as part of the story that we're seeing, as part of the characters, just not motivations, but part of the character's life and character building, to see that was part of what Mon Mothma was also having to deal with, as well as leading a rebellion or being at the tip of a rebellion, because I don't know that she's leading it just yet per se, but I appreciated that character. I enjoyed that character development scene to some extent, and anytime she's in her car or her ship, that thing is just a piece of gorgeousness. I love that ship.
Yeah, so I loved their relationship and how like they're pretty much at it. It's her, like you said, having to hide who she is. It's almost like they're being part of a relationship where people have two different political ideals, where he's like, he wants to be with all these rich people, and he's like, oh yeah, they committed all these disasters, but it's no big deal. And she's like, you don't forget really about this stuff, and how they just pretty much just hate each other, and they just put on this face for the TV, and the husband is pretty much making the daughter choose sides type of thing, and it's tearing her apart, but she's got to worry about this government that is oppressing everybody. It's like, oh man, it's so good. Like the way that they're splitting everybody up like that, make them choose
the
between.
husband doesn't know what she's actually doing. He thinks that she's just spending time in her political realm and doing these organizations. He doesn't know that she's trying to like help everyone, So that's an added piece of tension there.
And he's just lazy about it because he's successful. He, lives high in the sky type thing. So yeah, it's seeing the family aspect is so grounded and so realistic. I'm sure we all have family members that argue about one political ideal or the other. So it's so great to see it represented so well on the screen.
This is where they were making the plan or whatever, and they're like, well, how would you calculate the weight of the ship? And he's like, well, you do it X, Y, or Z, whatever he says. He's like, wait a minute, how are you guys going to fly the ship? It's like, well, what were you going to do if I wasn't here? I thought that was a very interesting development, because but it does I guess it does go back to the plan did have more people or whatever. Luthen does say you either take him or call it off. Like he recognizes you needed some element in order to try to have some success of this or whatever, and found this guy or knew he was a pilot and all that sort of stuff. But it was a very interesting part of the wait, you guys don't know how to fly the ship?
It gave him leverage among the group, and then it made him like, see, like, you guys need me, I'm important, like I'm not just some mercenary that doesn't care. Like if it wasn't for me, you guys wouldn't even be able to execute this job, I like that they kind of gave him a little smug moment. They're like, you guys don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You guys seriously don't know what you're doing here.
Like, so he's probably done more stuff on his own. They have, since Luthen put them out there. So more.
And
collectively.
And there's no reason to think. I mean, we know he's joining a band of people that already have a plan, but there's no reason to think they're all perfect or specialist in their job, or
Yeah.
great at whatever they're supposed to be there for. They just are part of the cause. They have
Yeah, the
commitment to
people
the
who believe.
cause, who believe in whatever they need to do, so they're going to do it. But right, he has that experience, has that knowledge, that why he's a
And he calls them out,
200,000
don't use that as an
credit
excuse
valuable
to
asset.
walk away. He's don't
Yeah.
30,000.
don't make me the reason you're quitting. Like,
I
if
thought it
you're
was
scared,
200,
just go.
and I thought the crystal was a 30,000 down payment.
Oh, the crystal was 30. Yeah.
Right? I thought he was getting paid 200, and the crystal was some sort of down payment on it. But I thought the crystal was 50. But anyway.
I'd say they're all there for just to help the rebellion. Some of them have their own personal interest in the next episode. So, but I believe this is the episode where the TIE fighter flew over them while training. I believe it was this one.
Hide the guns or whatever. Yeah, buzzed them, right? It did the low buzz. It did the
and
the top gun tower buzz.
I know it's been mentioned a few times online in discussions where it's like, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. Come at me. Anyway, but like, I believe I realized it today that it's like they're keeping the Empire out of it because they don't want to see how crushing it is. So they dropping these nuggets in, and it adds so much more feeling because, like you said, you know the Empire's there, but you don't see him. So here's this TIE fighter, that one single TIE fighter flies overhead, and everyone runs and hides, and you hear that noise, that screaming where it's like, "Roar!" like over everybody, and they just run in fear. And it's like, that's what the Empire does. We don't see it in New Hope type of thing. You see it in Rogue One. But you see the small person, what one TIE fighter can do to a whole group of features. And he's just probably screwing around like, I'm going to buzz these idiots, these backwater people. And it caused so much fear in the people. And that's what and I feel like we're going to start seeing the Empire appear more and more, become more oppressive, where everyone's surrounded and you can't breathe and type of stuff. So it's to see these little nuggets start to build. It's great. This director's amazing.
Yeah, I just find it awful like
that
from all the Star Wars stuff that like you always see troopers, always see people in helmets. There's like 40 different variations of stormtroopers, and you don't see one on any of these planets. That's the only thing that's kind of weird. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, we start.
Well, not yet. I think you're everyone that goes on about that. You're ahead of the game. We're going to get there soon enough, or that's going to be part of the equation soon enough. But at this point, the planets don't need garrisons of troopers to keep everything in line because they've been falling in line, or they've been agreeable to the oppressive thumb that has been the Empire to some extent. But once they start pushing back and getting a little rebellious or whatever, then it's all right, well, we'll leave a garrison here or two, or whatever needs to happen to enforce things, and then become
somewhere. I don't know. Maybe they have those guys that walk around, like maybe they switch into stormtroopers.
Because to see the previews and to watch the trailers or whatever, there's stormtroopers are coming soon enough. It's going to be a part of the show soon enough.
It's building
like that whole boiling of frost
Yeah,
thing.
right.
It's you don't know it's happening until it's actually happening. Where the heat
So
is
it's too late
going
to
up and up and up until it actually happens, and the water starts boiling. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
they're not very good with their cover story being farmers because they have like no supplies out there. If they ever do get stopped by the.
Well, I think some of them are farmers, some of them are nomads that are just moving from area to area to be able. So I think that's what it.
Didn't they have a pen of those like 6-horn sheep or whatever?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah.
So other than that, I think they're just preparing for the heist. Really, I'm not sure. You got some really good character moments. I can't remember them all. So, like you said, the lieutenant.
Again. Yeah, they did. Right. Talking about
a little bit. I don't remember what happened with him though. It was really short.
Well, this had the nice setup of the Imperial. I think it's Gorn, right? That sort of set up that the I want this painted or whatever. And they're like, sir, the only reason we get stationed here, if you find out you get stationed here, you hope to see this eye thing or whatever. Do we really have to paint that tomorrow night? And he's like, all right, fine. Make sure it's painted and sparkling the next day, but everybody can go see it. It was a nice little setup to the heist aspect of how they're going to make sure it's minimally staffed or guarded or minimal number of people that they have to run into. I thought that was pretty clever.
And I like his backstory too, where he was married to an Aldani, or dated or married an Aldani girl that was killed or died or something because of the Empire.
Lost her
That was his
somehow. Yeah.
realization. It's like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And it's again more great character aspects to shows what it takes for them to kind of turn their back on it. Unfortunately, much like the real world, people don't realize something is terrible till it affects them. But we're seeing that now with these characters where it's like, yeah, I believed, he's a lieutenant. He's obviously been in it for a long time, Gorn. And now it's like, I don't want to be in it. I want to see it fall. And it's like, great, to see all these people turn, all these chess pieces are going into place.
Right.
And it's anything else on that episode? Anybody remember? I don't remember what Karn was doing. What he was doing with his mom. I don't remember. So
they were getting they were trying to get the hookup for a new job with Uncle Harlow or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that really nothing
She
happened.
kept talking about Uncle Harlow, but we haven't yet met him.
Yeah, so again, hopefully a lot more to see on it.
There was some character because this was the episode leading to the sort of action episode, and Andor's talking to him, about the day before, the night before the heist or whatever. That that's when your adrenaline's pumping. That's the hardest part. You've planned your plan, but the night before, the day before is where you really start to question it and think about it, and don't use me as an excuse not to do it, and his motivation, because that's where he reveals, this is the one where he reveals he's a mercenary, right? Him and Skeen or whoever kind of have their falling out, or otherwise just glaring looks at each other in terms of trust type of thing. But Andor kind of shows his worth that he's been in situations like this before, that he puts on, is trying to get them to put on their game face and recognize that you have to, you're going to have the nerves and the jitters, and the night before, the day before is always the hardest part of something like this. It's just a neat, it's expanding that Andor character immensely in terms of what he's bringing to this table of this group of people in this heist.
And I guess on to the last episode.
How does this one end? This one ends with, doesn't this one end with Luthen and his assistant? He's all nervous about it, and she's like, it'll be over this time tomorrow, or it'll just be starting. I thought that was a great line to all of this, that just that anticipation that is this series and watching these episodes week in and week out. It was a great line into his motivation and his trepidation as to what's about to transpire.
Yeah, just a really calm. Nothing big happened at the end. It's just these are best watched almost as a watch all three at once type of thing. Binge them all at once because you want to see what happens next.
Gosh, I wish I could do that and just watch wait till the third week and then watch, but no.
Yeah, right. You can't.
I am enjoying the week to week. I am enjoying the settling into my easy chair and finding myself sitting on the edge of the seat and just on the pins and needles, even though I know what's going to happen to Andor, or know that nothing can happen to him, if you will. I don't know anything about all of these other characters, and this next episode that we're going to get into definitely is going to have some talking
lose
about.
A leg and have a robot leg. You never know.
Touche.
All right, so the sixth one is called The Eye. So, aided by Gorn, the rebels successfully infiltrate the garrison by posing as an escort squad, wink, for Commandant, I guess it's Commandant, J-Hold Bihaz. Oh, I knew it had to be something fancier than that. I was like, that can't be Commandant. That sounds weak. Commandant. Thank you. J-Hold Bihaz, Gorn's superior. They take Bahaz's family as hostage, very interesting, and force him to give them access to the garrison's payroll vault. While loading the credits into Imperial freighter, they are caught by Imperial forces, and Terramin and Gorn are killed in the ensuing firefight. Cinta is unable to make it onto the ship, so only Cassian, Skeen, Vel, and Namek escape from Aldani. They land on another planet to treat Nemek's injuries, but he quickly succumbs and passes away. With Vel occupied looking after Namek, Skeen proposes to Cassian that they leave Vel behind and split the payroll between them. Cassian kills Skeen, fearing for his life and disgusted by Skeen's selfishness. He tells Val about the conversation and informs her that he plans to take a small portion of the payroll, the amount Rail had promised to him as payment, and leave everything else to her. Back on Coruscant, Rail hears news of the theft and quickly celebrates.
So you're saying, Ralph, where do we get? I only know him as Luthen. Where do we ever pick up where his last name is, and how are you spelling, or how is his last name being spelled?
It's Rael. So yeah, it's definitely Luthen. I was confused. I was like, "Who's Rael?" And I was like,
"Yeah." It took me a while to figure out who you're talking about.
Yeah, subtitles always call him.
That's just in the synopsis that you're reading, right? I don't think we've heard that at all.
I think they said his full name before. I think Mothma said it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we know him more as Luthen than we do as
that
Rael.
Kill is like one of the best things I've ever seen on anything. Like if there's always situations in movies where like there's a guy like, why don't you just shoot this guy, and then he does it. I'm like, yay! Like that was like the best part.
I wasn't yay, but I was like, holy, oh man, I was not expecting that at all. It was powerful.
No question. Really, just hold it out, shot.
Just like, you're finished. I am not having any of this. Yeah, that was a whole wow. This is a legit show I'm watching here kind of moment from a storytelling. From that character development and that story piece that was just
you get him
because he could get himself
to take you out.
Right. Well, but I was thinking about it. In doing that, he goes back to Val. Then it becomes he said, he's only one side of the story. Oh, he was talking nonsense and was going to take it all and run, so I had to kill him. Really? Because that's not the Skeen I know type of scenario that could be coming, or I thought could have been coming. They're all suspicious of each other. They do set that up in a couple of previous episodes. We barely trust each other. We barely know each other. So maybe she's not going to be. It's not like they've been in the fight together, her and Skeen, for years upon years. They've quasi sort of just met each other, or whatever you want to say. So she could buy whatever Cassian's saying to him, and she kind of has to at that point because he's the one there. But yeah, it just seemed the way you're shooting that guy, and now it's all going to be what you say. Who's going to trust you?
Because she's the only one left. She's gonna think that he's gonna take me out next, so he can take all the money.
There was something to that, but no, he quickly says, "No, I just want a small. I want my other part, and I'm out of here. I want paid. You can do with the rest, because he could have taken it all. So
yeah, so take the crystal, take it all. I just want what I'm paid, and it'd be gone."
They left the other one there on the planet, right? They got to go back and get it.
Yeah, Cinta's still there.
Yeah, you said about, and the synopsis says about she didn't make it on the ship. I don't think the plan was for her to ever make it on the ship. It didn't feel like she missed it.
And
I don't think so either. It felt like that was part of the plan, to leave her behind there.
Next to Cassian, she was like the other best person they had there, because she was able to,
But why would we're obviously going to find out. But why do we think? Why would that be part of the plan? Obviously, she wasn't seen by anybody, but she's not going to be recognized as an Imperial. She's going to be like, hey, you're a new face, so she can't blend in with the Imperials. I wouldn't think. It just seems. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle that with regards to seems part of the plan was to leave her there the whole time. But what's the advantage to that? Maybe finding out what they're going to do, or how they're going to react to this.
The tribal people, I thought they were going to take everyone out for a minute there.
They can also just say, we returned and got her and left. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, because they needed someone on the bridge to kind of distract all these people, to get rid of signals, to cut the communication. So they were
able to get Cassian on planet, so maybe they can get it off world. Granted, it probably would be kind of hard now since they're going to have more.
Yeah, they just drew a whole lot of attention to the place.
One of the images we see is Cinta looking up at the sky and seeing a Star Destroyer land on planet. So now we're going to see her point of view from what the Empire does on planet.
I thought they put that communications blocking device on there that I'm wondering. They didn't go die hard and blow things up, so that's there to sort of as a breadcrumb, as a trail leading. So hopefully they use technology that couldn't be tracked back to somebody or somehow or whatever, or it's in a place where it doesn't get hidden or doesn't get noticed. But yeah, they just didn't blow anything up. They didn't destroy the base or anything like that. So that piece of evidence, if you will, that piece of equipment that they placed on the comm lines or whatever to create the static or whatever it was they were doing still exists. So that's there as something for the Empire to find.
Didn't Cassian say that was actually a piece of Imperial equipment? That's a pretty clever little bit of subterfuge.
Oh, when
Makes it look like a pure inside job.
Oh, yeah, I like it, Marie. I like it. Right, make it look like the Empire, somebody inside the Empire.
Like the entire
stole it. Yeah.
It kind of gives the entire garrison it kind of gives the Imperials reason to suspect the entire garrison.
Everybody
kind of
there,
like take
right?
them down. I mean, the main person that would be the one responsible is dead. So
is he though?
That's, I mean, as far as we know.
Right. Okay. So right. I think unceremonial. We saw him taken out and saw the other one taken out, but right, we don't know how taken out they truly are.
I mean, I was vindicated this episode because I always said that Nemec was marked for death, and he did die.
Which one was that? The kid?
But
yeah,
that was the
kid.
The
manifesto.
I always said he was going to be the first to die. At least he's the first we actually see die.
Touche, Marie. Yeah, he's the first. He is the first to die, in that sense, because he's the first we see. Right, he's the one that's operated on Doctor. Did anybody pick that up in the subtitles that he was Dr. Quad Paw?
Yes.
Okay.
Quad Paw.
Yep, that's what it said. Dr. Quad Paw.
Little on the
nose.
nose.
Quad Paw. They're trying to get real literal now with those names.
Yeah, it's what's with the blue guys? Avatar and Unobtainium or whatever the heck they named in that stupid movie. Yeah.
Well, then there's Dr. Mandible. Dr. Mandible's a giant ant from New Hope.
Yes.
So
they do have the Jedi, three-eyed goat face. Yes.
Yeah.
Not trying too hard with the names, are we? Well, I guess it's one extreme to the other. We got Clem, and then we got Dr. Manpaw, or Quad Paw. So,
Quad Paw.
Some people are working hard to name things, and other parts aren't.
So, I liked in this. I'm sure everyone mentions it, but this is just one of the most stunning images, pretty much ever recorded in cinema, in my opinion. It's just they've been building towards the eye, but then when you see it, you're just awestruck. The way that the people covered up the fire to like experience it. And honestly, it really did look like a giant eye. Like if you looked at some of these scenes, you see like this big empty center of space and like all these lines coming off for like the iris. Yeah, I didn't realize, it's called the eye, and I didn't really connect it till a couple days later that it looks like a giant eye in the space, and the colors that they use, it's just stunning to watch it unfold.
You have to not scientifically, medically, or like a close up of an eye, because it doesn't. I don't know that it looks like an eye in a very character drawing somebody eye, but if you look at an eye real close and see what it's made up, and like you say, of the iris and the colors that are in it, and the real detail of an up close eyeball, that's where it does look like an eye. And yeah, it was, like you said, Ryan, just cinematographically gorgeous. It was beautiful. I see so much clamoring for it as a phone background. Want screenshots for that as a phone background. Beautiful. It really was.
You guys know, like I've been going on and on about Stormtrooper, so you can imagine my elation when I saw the TIE Fighter pilot jump in and take off.
Why were the ties? I mean, I guess that one guy picked up on the chatter, but I wondered about why the ties were dispatched. Why did somebody say, get those ties, scramble the TIE fighters, scramble the fighters? Why? There's no ships for the fighters but I guess that's air support or otherwise something that they have. They don't have
it's probably the same guy that's been patrolling back and forth, and so he.
Yeah, but it was just made out that the ties were. It felt like it looked like the ties were dispatched to go attack the ship, but the ship isn't in the air yet. Nobody knows that there's going to be a ship taken. None of that, but. It needed to happen because we needed a chase scene for the ship, and we needed the ties to be after it, and for the eye to do its job. That slow ship finding a way to escape the fast ties, as Andor pointed out to
go
him.
Down, go left, go right. I like that.
Oh, so talking about that scene, I'm sure everybody else noticed it, but I totally choked up when Nemec was flying, and he's like, climb, climb, and that's exactly what K2SO says.
Right.
Yes, I noticed that.
Because that's the saddest death and the saddest scene in Star Wars is the death of a robot, K2SO. When he's like, climb, Cassian, and then Nemec does it too. Like, talk about character throwback. All these people that are like, climb, and then they die, type of thing. So it adds more to the scene.
It's
Rogue
nice
One.
bit of poetry, right?
From this show and from Rogue One, we've seen how like Cassian will just instantly kill a person, but he loves droids, and like he actually feels hurt when something happens to them, or he's worried about them, like the little droid from the show. And then when K2 dies, but then like on the other hand, he'll just kill somebody like in cold blood. Like he, it just shows his disconnection to like society and how.
I would push back. It's not in cold blood. It's in
but
pragmatic necessity.
I think he would think twice before shooting a droid. I guess that's what I'm saying.
No, I think if the droid is in the same situation and going to cause the cause he's after or the scenario he's after major problems, he destroys the droid just as quickly. You know what I'm saying? The two that he's dispatched, he's had to. If he doesn't dispatch one gimpy arm, he's not climbing and they're in trouble and everything's found out. That guy had to go. And if he doesn't dispatch Keen, then it's a whole mess and his safety isn't. That one might be a little bit more in cold blood than gimpy guy in Rogue One, but I'd push back a little bit that I don't think it's in.
The guy was unarmed.
Yeah, he couldn't escape. He's just like, I can't get out of here, and he's just like, too bad for you. I'll get out of here for life. And he shoots him. I'm like, what? So Andor's just going to be.
How else are you going to handle that safely?
So I'm
that Rogue
wondering.
One scene. The troopers are coming. You've just destroyed, killed 2 troopers. A whole lot's about to come down on you. What else are you going to do in that situation?
Do you think he's still wanted, like from all this stuff? Because I mean, the Cyril knows his name. They know who he is. And like in Rogue One, he's like doing all the stuff. Like, do they still have a warrant out for Cassian Andor?
Well, that'd be an interesting thing about why he has to kill Gimpy Arm then in Rogue One. Because if there is still he can't even begin to have any problems.
5 years later, there's probably a billion warrants out. Oh, and then we got to see a really good scene in the Senate, with Mon Mothma.
That was so sad.
Yes, a quick. Yeah, right.
It's really there to care about her talking and type of thing, but then all the news starts to break. So seeing that was really neat.
The state of the galaxy right there, to see the Senate chamber that was once like filled with the population of the entire galaxy, had aliens
representation,
right?
Representation.
There's like a dozen people in there now, and it just goes to show how
nobody cares.
Or like how the Empire destroyed so many planets so far. Like they don't even have representation anymore. Like it's just,
I wouldn't think just destruction. It's just that they don't care about what's that we're not going to listen to Mon Mothma. She's going to talk about something. We got other stuff to do, type of stuff. So.
She's that. Oh, there she is, going on and on again about her, climate change or her Prop 65 initiative or whatever. Just going on and on about the thing again. Oh, gee,
and the state of like. The Republic that had like all these planets working together and doing all, now they don't. There's nobody there and they don't care, and then half of them are gone. So it's like, it's it wasn't too hard to dissolve the Senate, I guess. Like in New Hope, because there wasn't much left of it at that point. Government.
That was all of like what 2 minutes? I don't even think of that long. It was a very quick, short scene, but so powerful, right? Like you say, like you said it, Ricky, just a sad bit of this is
like a shell of his former self. Like I expected to see the Senate like full of people, and nope, it's just empty.
I'm finding myself more and more loving that Mon Mothma character. Her portrayal of it is obviously very, very good, but the character and all that it's gone into that character, finding that one to be.
It's kind of like what's the point of being a senator anymore? There's nothing happens. You're talking to basically an empty room.
Yeah.
So why not join the rebellion and try to fix things that way? I thought it was so good.
This had the what they explained the eye. That was a previous episode or whatever. Was it just literally the meteor shower going through the Aldani atmosphere? Is what it was. Anyway? Some sort of.
It's like rings of something. So every 3 years.
That's what it was. The rings, whatever. All the stuff in the rings. Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, so it happens all the time. Well, like I said, every 3 years, but they kind of expect it. Oh, and just the other thing what the Empire did to try to strip people down from their beliefs and wear them down where they're like, oh, we placed all sorts of bars on the side, all sorts of, places to pretty much test their faith, to distract them, to separate them. Again, it's these tiny tricks of the Empire that in real life.
And then they end up having like less than 100 people left.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
to see that, to try to separate people, to try to temptations, to try to offer them something to not, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry about fighting for whatever thing you want to fight for in the real world. Just
We'll let
go
them
do
destroy
this
themselves.
instead. Yeah. And it'll come down to nothing, and it'll be such a small party that why even listen to 100 people? Because that's what happens. The party becomes so small, the voices don't become as loud, and it's like, oh, why even listen to those people? We're just going to build more air bases here. Because remember, they said this is the last time these people are going to see this eye, because it's going to be an air base now. They're going to flatten it all and make it an air base. I mean, they'll still see the eye, but the monument will be gone, everything. They're like, who cares? This will be the last time they're going to gather anyway. So it's these tiny steps that the Empire is taking.
Those people,
which
that's
is
why they burn those pelts. They're like, well, yeah, this is meaningless,
Once again, slowly turning the heat up on the frog in the pot of water.
Yeah, angering more groups of people
Mm-hmm.
where they finally, come together.
Right.
So yeah,
was there I don't know if it was their plan to always have, like, were they planning on moving the credits themselves as part of their plan, or were they always going to have some captured help? Like, I don't think the one Imperial sort of messes the plan up or whatever, or they thought they'd have a few or a couple, or I guess those guys that were going to be there painting, or the small couple of people that were going to be there guarding the vault or whatever that didn't get to see the eye or whatever that was, would be the ones that they figured was going to be their muscle. Yeah. Who they were going to get to move stuff or
to be there at
die.
all, right? They were all supposed to be gone, but then in the other episode, those guys told the lieutenant, whatever he was, like, oh yeah, we should probably have people down here, just in case. I don't think they were supposed to have anybody down there to begin with.
No, there was always going to have to be some people down there.
Need help. Yeah, so Gorn probably just said, oh, we need a couple people here. Yeah, because remember, he said, I put all my best guys outside to make sure that the people don't go start a riot. So he's just got a bunch of dunces in there playing cards where he can just say, line up and load the stuff. And then they get caught because the one guy is like, well, I'm getting all sorts of alarms there. Let me just send some people that way. And then they're like, this is something you shouldn't care about. And they're like, wait a minute. And then shoot. So, but yeah.
I was surprised. I thought they were going to take it all, and maybe the surprise group of people that attack them and, kind of ruin their plans or whatever. But it didn't really even felt like they got away with half of it. I don't mean, what's your take on how much of what was in there versus what they actually got on the ship? I don't think they got half.
Million credits? They called it 80 million, right? Because didn't he say you take 40 and I take 40? Wasn't that what Skeen was trying to do? I can't remember the exact number, but I thought it was.
Well, yeah, but what's your take on how much of a dent did they put into the vault?
Oh, they got like 30%.
I agree.
Okay, so you think it was or you guys are thinking it's less than 50%? I was surprised at that. I thought they were the plan, or they were going to get away with a lot more. Let's say
they would have had carts that had repulsors on, they would have got more money.
I mean, that's what Luthen said. They want to steal the entire paper, and it's like, I was like, dude, you guys have a lot to go. After loading all that.
Yeah, that's where I was exactly. Thank you, Ryan. That's where I was. It's like, wait, there's still more to be done here. What's going on? But they needed to go for some reason. Yeah. Well, why did they think? Or they just had a timeline that, as every bad guy does or whatever, they just say, all right, here's our timeline.
They were in a shootout too.
Stick with it, and the shootouts.
I guess even Gorn was like, "What are you guys doing? We need to get out of here." And then that's when people start
the four of them to load it themselves. What would they have done if they didn't have the Imperials helping them?
Well, that's what I was asking, but I think there was going to be some level of Imperials there. They got more because
put them there as part of the plan. They're like, listen, we're going to need help. So how about I just station like 5 or 6 guys here to help push carts?
Well, I contend that there were 5 or 6 guys always stationed there, And that's where he said, well, I want this painted. And he's like, sir, if we add any more guys, it's really going to lower morale because we want to see the eye. And he's like, fine, just have the guys that are normally here or whatever and get it painted tomorrow type of thing, and instead of stationing more guys there. I think that was all part of his plan to begin with. But right when the Commandant and his crew get taken over, they had more help than they planned for, so they have to now guard them, if you will, so to speak, make sure that that they stay safe with them, that they lose track of or get surprised by the group that come in they come in and start the shootout, because that wasn't the shootout didn't start by
Yeah, you also don't want 50 guys in there. So I'm sure Gorn just told a bunch to leave. They left a number that was manageable. They're like, listen, there's 5 of us. We can control like 10 guys with guns. It'll be just fine. Like if it was a full garrison, because we've seen what that vault looked like earlier on. Because remember, they were all about, that was the painting scene that you're talking about. And it was loaded with people.
Right.
So he sent a lot of people. You can watch the eye. He sent his best people out. So I think there was always supposed to be just a number of people to help load, because it'd move quicker if they just you empty the bank vault into this bag and give it to me. That, like a bank heist type of thing.
Oh, you know what the timing of it was the eye. The countdown of it was that they had to leave at a certain time because they were trying to shoot the eye as their escape pattern. So that's what was making them. That's what I'm remembering. That's where the timeline was. We had to be beholden to it because we got to shoot the eye, or whatever that plan was to make their way out. Because
the eye covers up their escape because it was a ship that was too slow to.
Yeah, and it did, right. It destroyed the ties that was chasing them. Because Gorn, right, isn't it Gorn that says you shouldn't be here? This is a classified thing. He's trying to get that guy to get out of there. He's like, wait, you shouldn't be here. You and your guy shouldn't be here. This is classified. He's trying to get them out of there, extricate them from that situation to stop from slowing them down. But they get in a firefight and have to do what they have to do. Which guy?
The one that walked in with his troops and then was like, "What's going on here?"
Oh yeah. Yeah, remember like Cassian and Skeen started shooting, and Cassian blasted 2 people right off the bat.
That was like the corporal that was the
alarms and all that stuff.
With the communications. Yeah, he was the communications guy.
Started that guy stayed alive, then he would think that it was his name Gorn and the Commandant were like in on it, because at that point the Commandant wasn't talking and
he still doesn't know what's going on at all.
Then he had
He's just questioning things. But no, it was a wonderfully exciting heist. It was a fun on the edge. Outside of Andor, who's going to make it? How's this going to go down?
This is going to be a pattern where you got like 2 episodes and the third is the climax kind of thing. You think that's going to be the rest of the season? They have like 5 little.
Yeah, there's 6 more. So yeah, they might have. I heard there was like 3 story arcs. So this might have been the first one.
Well, Star Wars is trilogies, and so it sure lends itself to that sort of We got 6 more, 2 more sort of stories, but it's whatever it is. It can be 6 more
on his planet. So they haven't finished that story about his sister, and they got to explain more about the mining.
It can be 6 more, and the 6th one is the ultimate in climax and wraps everything up for me. I'll be happy. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I've seen so much chatter and nitpicks and minutia about it, kind of thing, and that. The most recent one was the guns, and we're real. Just until the guns start shooting bullets. They're shooting blaster bolts, and they're whatever gun design they need to be. People are looking for things to pick, so to speak. That drives me nuts.
They're called slug throwers in Legends.
Oh geez.
There
are bullet shooting guns. Oh geez.
Yeah, they have the shotguns, and they would shoot the Jedi with them, and it would like just shoot molten magma straight through their blades into them, type of thing. So yeah, they did exist in Legends for a little bit, for the story.
It's not canon anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you had to have slug throwers for some reason.
It's a big something we should do sometime is let's read Legends books to Ron and get his opinion on everything. That'll be
Yeah.
quite
We got
intense.
worms that
I've
go
read
into
it.
people's faces. We got clones with two.
You have enough of that because the thing that's not Legends, that's canon now or whatever, has a rock in it. So it's
He's
not
not
going to be too
rock.
fun.
Yeah, they had
Crystal-
living ships in the EU, so like living, breathing
Everybody
spaceships.
What was the
actually
kid's-
a crystallized structure, isn't it? I think, or something.
What was the kid's
Yeah.
name? How tragic, how heartfelt was his injury? The ship goes to take off and the whatever slides into, it was impactful
Oh,
and
yeah.
surprising as to how he got his injuries. It was
Yeah,
just
we're
like,
the stabilizers on the ship.
really, we made it. He made it onto the ship and everything, whatever, and he gets taken out by the pallet of gold shifting and falling.
Nobody thought about securing stuff. That was obviously not in the plan.
Yeah, I think as Ryan said, they were in a firefight, so a lot of things kind of may have went out the window in terms of of what you're
It was
thinking
like
about.
rolling around the back like they're in a Chevy Bronco. Like
health and safety and stuff. Yeah, I think it was a bit. I think the poor two Imperial guys who were on the inside. I mean, we lost them like nothing, didn't they? It was almost like they just got randomly. It's almost like they randomly shot, and there was no emotion for their loss. I was a bit shocked, but there was no real emotion. A bit disappointing, but I suppose essentially all you end up with
between the group.
In the group itself, yeah, they both
They
got
were
it.
kind of like
didn't
strangers to each other still, though.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean-
they barely knew each other.
they? Yeah, it was all a little bit strange. And did the chap that took hostage? Did he actually have a heart attack, or did they shot him? I can't remember what happened.
He had a heart attack, right?
In a heart attack, yeah. It was all a bit. I was just looking as he's googling this, I know about the meteor shower. It says that Nima actually says that it's a recurrent band of crystallized I can't even say this, noctilucent micro densities, rather than strictly a meteor shower. So the crystallized micro densities that heat up and explode. Yeah. So it's not rock. It's sort of like crystallized stuff.
That's how geodes are born.
I'll put that in there because I'm sure that Nemec will want us to remember it as what it properly is. But we're all going to remember it in the future as a meteor shower. I'm
So
sure.
it's going to be a trivia question. What was the eye consisted of? It was
the Ardani, yes. I've got meteor shower. It's not a meteor shower. Well, but so we're at the halfway point there. We are at the halfway point in Andor, aren't we? So 6 down, 6 more to go.
When does it wrap? When's its last show? Before Christmas?
It's in November. I know that.
I guess it's just 6 weeks out from now, so I can look at a calendar and see. All right, so yeah, it's
November 23rd.
Yes. Next month we'll probably have we'll have the Tales of the Jedi to talk about and Path of Deceit. Hopefully, Josh isn't here. I just noticed that halfway through. Josh isn't here. I can't remember. Marie, did you read the books? I can't remember. Did you read the High Republic books?
Get caught up. She read some.
She doesn't know.
No, she doesn't know. So it's only Josh we really need to check about, and maybe Ron might join us. Might have some downtime and read the book before next month. But
See, the Shadows of the Sith had legacy characters and had tie-ins, and I think that's what got me in potentially that. The High Republic is all new stuff, so I'll welcome your dissection.
Yoda. Well, kind of, but some of the stuff has Yoda.
Yes, well, yeah, not so far. Yeah, not so far in phase 2, but yeah, it will be pretty. I think it's going to be some great conversation next time round.
We'll reread it so Ron does not have to.
Yes,
and then
that's what we're doing it for you. But I say I am. It was a bit of a slow. Well, not say slow start. It was an easy start, and it's just got more and more interesting as time's going on. But as we say, we can't say anything more about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Tales of the Jedi and High Republic and all of it.
Yep. So we'll get into that and Tales of the Jedi next month. Anything else that might surprise us in the meantime that comes along. Okay. Thank you very much, folks. And we'll see you in roughly 3 or 4 weeks' time. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Go switch off. I am the Senate.
Be sure to follow us online. We're at Facebook at PSW Senate. Join our Positively Star Wars Facebook group, where we all are in there interacting. You can find us on Twitter at PSW Senate. On Instagram, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. And on TikTok, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.
The Force will be with you, always.
Bailing. I know him.
Yeah, he came on and we couldn't hear him at all. And then it would like cut out. And
I had to change it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Well played, Ryan. Well played.
I don't know what I chimed in on. Just
Yeah. That could very much cut you to the quick there.
we were talking about how terrible the Batman is.
oh,
Well, he knows that's not what
you
we
just
were
edit that. Yeah, you better not steal that and like use it as a clip to make to form your arguments later on, Mr. Editor.
Why would you
Just
give
steal
him
the
that?
words.
Why would you give him that?
Yeah, just edit it out and be like, ha, you're right. No, I didn't say that.
I just got in
Steven's
like
having
seconds
technical
before you asked. Yeah, Stevens with the technical difficulties this morning.
Oh, yeah, I was running around trying to get a quick vacuum and laundry in, so nothing exciting for me.
Oh, shoot. No. That wasn't the mute button. They'd make that thing red.
Oh, this is like our official, but our first episode was in October 2020.
You're distant. Yeah, we do
You're
hear
very
you trying
distant,
to talk.
but we can hear you.
Sound like you're all the way in England.
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah, now we don't hear you at all.
No.
Yep, still don't hear you. I'm saying it like I can hear you talk. I can't hear you talk, so I'm just letting you know that we can't hear you.
Well, I don't see his little thing. His thing
Bouncing.
lighting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It lets you know when somebody's talking, doesn't it? He's going to swap to the phone.
Okay.
Dagger.
No? Oh my god.
Oh, there you sound good.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. Hang on, turn my video off. You don't want to see me.
It actually sounds really good.
Hello.
I hear an echo.
Does that sound all right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's
echo.
Echo?
I think the echo went away.
Wrecker.
Yeah.
Might have been me.
Did you guys all get a load of Pon Solo?
What?
The Pon Solo thing. Did you see that? The Han Solo made out of bread. The life-size Han Solo and carbonite made out of bread.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Discovered that's in a bakery in Benicia. Benicia is not very far from me. It's less than an hour from me. I may need to go out there.
Oh wow, that's cool. Did you get to eat it?
Yeah.
Like, are they giving it away?
I don't think they're giving it away or anything like that. I don't think it would taste very good because it's not like I don't know what they were talking about the method that they used to make it, and I don't know. It doesn't sound like it might be very good bread, but it's probably like waste dough or something. And but it's only like Benicia's only like maybe half an hour from me, so I think I'm gonna go out there and see it.
You can just hang it on your wall in your kitchen.
I wish. Seeing the actual prop.
All right. Okay. So obviously we're going to do Andor.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's findable. Somewhere I've seen a preview of some sorts. Like I was watching a TV show, watching a movie, and they showed a preview of Andor, a trailer, if you will, and it had some new scenes, some new upcoming stuff. But I couldn't even begin to tell you how to find, or if it's even findable. I was surprised to see it because that was the first I had ever seen it or heard anything about it. The trailer, be a quick review. Yeah, it was a commercial spot in between. I was watching Die Hard or whatever on FX and was surprised to see this Disney Plus commercial for Andor, and showed a bunch of new things. I'm just suggesting if that's findable, I'll look for it as well. Yeah. Mid-season trailer.
Did you see Jar Jar?
I did not see Jar Jar.
Still hoping.
But I did see what looked to be Ryan's favorite, or just otherwise something from Visions, that was some sort of ship that looked like it had extend forever lightsaber things that was doing a spin. I don't know. I need to see it to see, but in the trailer it's just like, wait, what did I just see? It was.
Was it just a Disney Plus trailer, just showing all sorts of stuff? I don't know.
No, it was specific for Andor, because it was definitely trying to advertise for Andor to get people to be aware of it and go sign up for Disney Plus if you didn't know about it. But I was just very surprised to see some new footage. Basically, never seen before by me anyway. And I think I've seen all the trailers that were released before the season or before the episodes dropped and everything. So yeah, a mid-season trailer, if you will, would make sense since we're halfway through. I still haven't been able to find it anywhere, but yeah, I don't know how to search for it. It wasn't. I don't think it was dropped. I didn't see any chatter about it on the new, or I just didn't see anybody say, "Hey, this is coming out," or "Look what I found," or "Look what Disney Plus posted." It seemed like it was, they slotted it for the commercial break on FX in between, in a movie. Strange.
Yeah, I don't see anything when I'm checking everything released in only the past week. It looks like some fan edits, and that's about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so we'll do the usual intro and table, bit of news, then go into Andor, and that might well take the rest of of our time here. Oh, are we gonna? There's nothing different to say about Tales of the Jedi, is there? Because we discussed the
that's about it. It's coming in a couple days.
Yeah,
I was just going to look for the news, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right, so I wasn't laughing at you there. I was just laughing at Ricky's post. The teaser trailer with director credit
I didn't even realize that was in there.
So much fake news these days. It's hard to know.
But he's not in the trailer that they showed. I don't know why that's on there.
It's not from an official source, so I won't watch it.
I always see, if you go on YouTube, it's terrible these days. Like, you see things like here's what happened in Andor episode 7, or here's what happened. As if they've seen it. They enable things now as if they've seen it. And when you actually click on it, you find it's there's only about 1% of what they said on the title, and the rest of it is just absolute crap.
Well, like when they did the press review with things, whatever, they showed them like the first 4 episodes, and then people were saying like, "Oh, I saw the first 6." Like, so I don't know. It was like, did they see the first four? Because I know for sure they saw the first four, but yeah,
I wouldn't be
don't know if
surprised
they
if we saw
have seen the
director
first-
credit, but maybe not
Yeah.
this
No, it's
season.
weird that he's on there because I just watched this thing and he's not
No,
even
I
in
mean
the
that's
trailer.
completely photoshopped in, isn't it? You can
Yeah,
just
he's
see
not
that.
even in the trailer that they showed. It actually looked like a real trailer.
I wonder where they filmed her house. Does anybody know where her house was filmed?
In the volume.
No.
That's very nice. It looks very okay. Right, we better get on with the show. So everybody got all their drinks and refreshments and all that.
Yep.
All ready to go.
Check.
I'm sounding okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's get going then.